This is one of the most incredible, most dramatic startup stories you will ever hear, especially out of India. It's a true saga that starts with a passionate teacher, explodes into a global phenomenon, and then, well, it comes crashing down in a way that left the entire tech world just stunned. So let's get into it and break down exactly how it all happened.
At its absolute peak, BYJU'S wasn't just some company. It was the most valued education tech startup on the entire planet. And that number, $22 billion, just let that sink in. This was more than a valuation. It was a symbol of what Indian innovation could do on a global stage.
But then, just a couple of years later, that staggering number, poof, it basically evaporated. The valuation plummeted by over 95%, falling to less than $1 billion. The dream, it's safe to say, had become an absolute nightmare.
So that's the big question here, right? How does a company that seemed to have it all, the vision, the funding, literally millions of users, fall so far, so incredibly fast? Let's dig in and uncover the real story behind those wild numbers.
You know, to really understand the collapse, you have to first understand the brilliant idea at the heart of it all. This company wasn't cooked up in some boardroom with spreadsheets. It was born from a genuine, pure passion for teaching.
And that one man was BYJU Raveendran. Long before he was a billionaire CEO, he was this beloved math teacher. Seriously, his classes were legendary. They grew from these small little rooms to completely packed stadiums. He had this gift. He didn't just teach formulas. He actually made students fall in love with learning.
And that was the core insight, the light bulb moment. BYJU'S realized the problem wasn't the students. It was their lack of access to truly great teaching. So in 2011, he launched BYJU'S, the learning app, with a simple goal: to put a great teacher right into every student's pocket. And you know what? For a long time, it worked beautifully.
And that simple idea, it caught fire. It just built and built into this unstoppable force. The company's rise wasn't just fast, it was absolutely meteoric. It was like strapping a rocket to a classroom project.
Just look at the acceleration here. The app launches in 2011. A mere 4 years later, it gets this massive vote of confidence from Silicon Valley. And by 2021, it hits that unbelievable peak valuation of $22 billion. The pace is just staggering.
And that investment, it wasn't just about the money. This was a global seal of approval. I mean, when Mark Zuckerberg's own foundation calls you the future of learning, it basically signals to the entire world that this startup from India is destined for greatness.
With all that capital pouring in, BYJU Raveendran's role had to change, and it changed dramatically. He wasn't just a teacher anymore. He was now the CEO of a massive empire, spending billions to buy up other companies like the coding platform White Hat Jr. and the test prep giant Akash. The mission was shifting from teaching to dominating.
But here's the thing about that kind of hypergrowth. It is addictive, and man, is it dangerous. Beneath that shiny, successful surface, some really serious problems were starting to fester. This is where the whole story just began to split in two. The original, noble mission of accessible learning started to clash with a new reality of super aggressive, high-pressure sales tactics. The goal of empowering students, that gave way to widespread reports of employee burnout. And that dream of sustainable growth, well, it was being fueled by a massive and totally unsustainable cash burn.
The warning signs were all there if you looked closely. The company was reporting bigger and bigger financial losses. Those companies it bought were reportedly being totally mismanaged, and a growing lack of transparency combined with more and more debt started setting off alarm bells. The questions from investors and the media just kept getting louder.
And then the floor just fell out. The cracks that had been forming in this massive empire finally gave way to a full-blown, catastrophic collapse.
Okay, so this was the absolute tipping point. An auditor, in this case a huge firm like Deloitte, is supposed to be the independent watchdog verifying a company's finances. So when they just up and resign, it is a massive flashing red flag. It screams to everyone that there's a fundamental breakdown in trust and financial oversight. The market totally panicked, and honestly, they had every right to.
The impact was immediate and just brutal. These numbers really tell the whole story. From that $22 billion peak in 2021, the valuation was just slashed again and again and again until it was just a tiny fraction of its former glory.
And the consequences of this were so real and so human. We're talking thousands upon thousands of employees were laid off. Angry investors started filing lawsuits. The public trust that the entire brand was built on was just shattered.
Those once buzzing offices reportedly grew quiet and empty. The empire was well and truly crumbling.
So, after all that chaos, what can we actually learn from this? This isn't just a story about failure. It's an incredibly powerful case study with timeless lessons for absolutely anyone trying to build a business.
Okay, first lesson. Governance has to come before growth. Governance is just the rule book, the controls that keep a company on the rails, and scaling fast is pointless if you fly off those rails. Second, especially in a field like education, trust is everything. It's your most valuable asset. Once you lose it, no amount of marketing in the world can buy it back. And third, the founder has to evolve. The passion that makes you a great visionary isn't the same skill set as the discipline you need to be a great CEO.
In the end, the story of BYJU'S really comes full circle. It's this epic journey from a teacher who inspired millions to a titan of industry, and now to a cautionary tale that is just filled with hard-earned lessons. It's a powerful reminder that even the most brilliant ideas can completely fall apart if they forget the simple core principles